considering skin removal surgery? Have you just started out and you're just doing your research and you're wondering what are some things that you need to look for? If yes, this video is for you. So grab your water and get ready, because this one's gonna be a doozy. Hey everybody, it's Allie. I'm on a fantabulous weight loss quest, and hopefully you'll subscribe, come along for the ride, because I put out a new video every day. So this morning I wanted to talk to you guys about skin removal surgery. It's something that is, very heavily discussed in the GLP-1 community because we are all in a process of getting healthier. And in many instances, that includes having skin removal, excess skin removal surgery. Once we get to a goal weight, maintain that goal weight, and then we're looking to have the excess skin removed. So I want to tell you guys that the story that I'm going to share here is a little bit alarming. I have cut out a lot of the gruesome or graphic detail, so no concerns there. Nothing gory is going to be discussed. But it is scary in the sense that this is a very widely known chain, and that they are doing skin removal surgery with local anesthesia, i.e. lidocaine, the stuff you use for like a really bad sunburn. And this woman's talking about the experience that she and her mother had. So I want to go ahead and give a trigger warning. If that's something that upsets you, then you may want to jump ahead, or you may want to skip this video altogether. But if you are looking at having skin removal surgery, then I would encourage you to skip past the little snippets of video that I'm going to show you and come back when you see me on the screen again.
This is a story time about how my mom had a horrific situation at a place that I'm pretty positive just needs to be shut down. I've named the place in my last video, but I'm not going to use the name in this video. So if you're interested in what it is, just go back to the other video and take a look at that. This specific one is in Raleigh, North Carolina, but there are other centers, I guess, around the US. I don't know how many they have, but seems like a lot. My mom started doing the weight loss shots, and I'm not sure which one. I think she switched a couple of times, but she has lost, like many people, a significant amount of weight in a very short period of time. So obviously, when you're going through that much weight loss, you have a lot of extra skin. The big fears is waking up in the middle of surgery. And this happened to my mother, except they didn't even put her to sleep. This is part 2 of the story where my mom had skin removal surgery and liposuction at a very popular place that has national locations all over the country. And it was pretty horrific. Didn't see part 1. Small recap. My mother at this point decided that after she took, it goes probably about a foot upwards. The depth of the skin removal was about this deep. And I know you can't really tell, but for reference, like it was thick, right? Because when you lose that much weight, there's a lot of like fat stuck to it. And I don't really know the details of the medical stuff of it, but it is tissue that is like your skin layers that is really deep. And then there's some like, I guess, fat attached to that. So at this point, my mom comes out, I see that and I'm like, that's kind of cool to see, but also I feel like I'm going to throw up. And she's like, they removed so much skin. And I was like, yeah, that's crazy. She sits down and she's still in a haze because all they gave her during this surgery was some lidocaine on the stomach. They gave her 2 Percocets and a Xanax. And I'm sure this would have been fine for just liposuction, but the fact that she had a significant portion of skin removed after her weight loss, I think that they probably should have put her to sleep, or she should have gone somewhere that puts her to sleep. She mentions to me, she goes, Samantha, I felt everything. Every cut I felt them just... You can imagine they're removing that deep of skin and large. You can't even see my hands in the frame. Like, it was honestly the scariest thing I've ever seen. So you can imagine if they're removing that much skin, feeling that probably wasn't pleasant. And I'm thinking that she's just being dramatic. And she's like, no, I was screaming and they told me to stop screaming because they couldn't leave me like that. Sounds a lot like medieval torture to me. This is the point where she also informs me that they let her take the medicine, and then the doctor was an hour and a half late. I don't know if that had to do with why she started feeling things that she shouldn't, but the nurse lets me know in that moment. She's like, yeah, when you lose that much weight, there's something about the blood vessels that are so expanded, I guess, that the lidocaine doesn't really work. And they didn't warn her that. Then guess what? The girl's out of the office. Never called her back. And my mom says, listen, just take me off the schedule for Monday so I do not get charged for this. Like, I want it to be known. I do not want to have this surgery Monday. Whether or not I decide to do it in the future, I will not be having the surgery on Monday. I am still not healed. This feels unsafe. The girl says, oh, you don't want to look funny, do you? Balloon. You don't want to look funny, do you? Are you kidding me? This isn't about that. This is about the fact that my mom was still in significant amounts of pain. She had basically open wounds and her drains hadn't even come out at this point, I don't think. Maybe they had, but either way, she still had open wounds. This is the part where she goes into details to me and tells me about the fact that when she came conscious and was like, I can feel everything that you are doing, like consciously telling them, I can feel everything, and screaming in pain, they told her, stop screaming. Just kind of snapped at her, stop screaming, we have to finish. Now, nobody ever called her back. The sales team never called her back. So between the 8th and the 10th, she said that she called them 2 times on that first day, and then she called them, I think she said 6 times between those 2 dates, right? So January 8th, January 9th, January 10th, called them over 6 times. Nobody answered. Nobody would call her back. Same story. Hey, you don't want to look funny, do you? We'll call you back. We'll have a manager or sales or somebody to call you back. Oh, this person's not in. So it's like approaching the day that she's supposed to have that second surgery, and they still haven't taken her off the schedule. And I tell her, I'm like, Mom, I see what's happening here. They're waiting until the 11th hour so that they can still say that you canceled last minute, but in reality, you've been calling for days. Finally, she calls the national number because this is a big chain. She calls the national number and they're like, oh my God, we'll get somebody to call you back. Guess what? Nobody called her back. And she gets a confirmation for her Monday appointment. It's like giving her the details of like when to show up, all that. And she's like, so. And she calls back again, raising hell. She's calling back and she's like, I am not going to be there on Monday. You will take me off the schedule or I will contact an attorney because this is absolutely insane. Finally, towards the end of the day on January 10th, they finally had somebody call her back because I guess they got scared when she used the A word. And they said that they were going to refund her and they would call her that Monday because they were all getting out of work early that day. So they were going to call her that Monday, the Monday after that she was supposed to have the surgery. They were going to call her to confirm the refund. If you are someone who's taken some of these weight loss medications that are really popular right now, and you plan on getting the skin removal or the lipo afterwards, I highly suggest you do your research before you go to one of these places. I know most people do. My mom did too. But this place it looks like they've cleaned up a lot of information.
So there's a lot to unpack here. And first and foremost, I want to start out by saying that this is in no way, shape, or form a video to shame someone for choosing to go to a specific facility. That's not the intent here. That's not my goal. My goal is to help educate people because there's more to scheduling a cosmetic surgery than just looking at a website. So let's talk. First and foremost, if you're having any kind of surgery done, anything, and they are doing the surgery just with lidocaine and Percocet and a Valium, you probably don't want to have that procedure done. I'm just saying. This is not the only horror story that I have seen or heard about having procedures done like this. And your skin is an organ. I think that people, like when they lose a lot of weight and they have loose skin, they become, in a sense, detached from it, like it's not a part of them. Your skin is the largest organ in your body. If you're going to chop part of it off, you need to be going to somebody that A, is not going to be rushed for time because they showed up late. B, they're not going to be rushed for time because your local anesthetic is going to wear off. Like you just got to take this seriously. I just want to say, as a personal side note, if I was having any surgery, any procedure, anywhere, and my doctor showed up an hour and a half late, I would not be having that procedure that day. And I would say, hey, You know how you have a clause in your contract that says that I can't be late, otherwise I get charged, or I can't cancel at the last minute because I get charged? Yeah, you work for me. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel now because you are ridiculously late. And I would have that documented and not charged for that appointment, and I would not go back. I want you to think about every time that you have ever been late for something. How you were feeling, what your mindset was, what was going on. Like, we're talking about surgery. We're not talking about being 10 minutes late to work because you were in a traffic jam. Imagine how frustrated you've been, how angry and how out of sorts you are in general just for being 15, 20, 30 minutes late. Now, mind you, there are some people who have no concept of time and they don't care. But I'm saying for the most of us, we would be, physically upset about being that kind of late to something important. An hour and a half late? Yeah, no, you're not touching my body. No thanks. But that's just my personal side note. The other topic that I wanted to talk about was looking at before and after pictures. This is really important anytime you're going to have any cosmetic procedure done, because plastic surgery is like an art, and the body is the canvas. You need to make sure that you are seeing images before and after of a lot of patients by one specific doctor in order to get a feel for how they do things and how their results turn out. Here's an important point. So there are many, many, many plastic surgeons who, for some reason, cannot make an attractive looking belly button. Now, this is not something that bothers me, because if I ever have skin removal, I'm just not going to have a belly button so that I can tell people that I was delivered by a stork or that I came from the Matrix. So that's my plan. But for many people, it is important aesthetically to have a belly button. And so you need to be looking at what those belly buttons look like, because I can tell you, just from the research that I've done, that there are some doctors out there that should not be making belly buttons, because whoa, they look rough. And I'm not talking about belly buttons right after surgery. I'm talking about these are completely healed. They're done. This is how they're going to look. Oh my gosh, what happened to your belly button? Like, that would be a point of conversation anytime someone saw that belly button. It's like, ooh, what happened? What happened to your belly button? What's going on, right? You don't want that to happen. You need to be looking at that. So going to this website, it doesn't tell you which doctor those images are coming from. It doesn't tell you when the images were taken. It's just before and after pictures. Let's just assume, for the sake of my argument, that these before and after pictures are all by the same doctor, and this is their best work. Let's just assume, for the sake of this argument. Because I would hope that as a doctor, you would want your best pictures on your website, right? I mean, or anyone, any business owner. Let's just make it more broad. Any business owner, you're going to want your best pictures, your best work, your best craft. Guys, we have got to bump up the game when it comes to learning what to look for. I was going through these before and after pictures, and let me just preface this by saying no hate to any of these people that had these surgeries done. That's why I'm not going to post the before and after pictures, because my goal here is not to shame anyone or to make them feel bad about their body. I'm simply breaking it down to what you need to learn so that you can have the best results. So, people looking at these pictures like, Guys, I just made it through like the first 4 pictures and I was like, you could not pay me money. If Sono Bello came to me and said, hey, this doctor at this location is going to do this to you for free, but you have to talk about it on your channel, I would laugh hysterically and say, yeah, no thanks. I would rather walk around with painful loose skin and rashes for the rest of my life. And that was just going through the first 4 before and after pictures. Like, when you learn what to look for, when you do extensive research, not just research on one place, one time, and that's it, and then you go in, which I have a feeling is what this lady did. It's purely speculation on my part, but cost cannot be the only thing that is the determining factor. And if it is, then you need to stop, take a step back and say, this is the body that I'm going to have to live with for the rest of my life. How would I feel if my body looked like this picture? And if you're okay with that crappy picture, okay. I don't recommend it. There are better surgeons out there, but okay. But if you're not okay with it, or you're questioning it, or the thought of having a revision surgery is upsetting to you or is upsetting to your budget, then you need to stop and take a step back. And I think that's the thing that people don't talk about enough. You know, we see all these videos. I've been watching and following this one creator who had weight loss surgery, then got on a GLP-1, lost a ton of weight. And now she's gone to Mexico to have plastic surgery. And I was very interested to see how it came out, because she was just pumping up this, Mexican facility. Just, oh my gosh, they're so great. It's so affordable. It's so blah, 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 blah. Everything, their care is amazing and da, 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 right? And then after a couple weeks went by and she showed her incision, I was like, oh God. And my heart sank. First of all, she had a fleur-de-lis, which means that it not only comes in from the sides at the waist, but it goes straight up the middle, right? When you have a lot of excess skin, you have to do that. But, yeah. So they did that. She had dog ears, pretty significant, it looks like, dog ears on the side, which is a no-no. If you don't know what that is, go look up pictures. And then they pulled her so tight in the middle, but didn't pull her tight enough at the top, like right here, right under the breastbone. So there's like this patch of loose skin, and there's all this puckering, and the line down the center of her body is like this. It's like crooked. And my heart just sank. I was like, oh God. And then she's upset because people are commenting about, hey, your scar doesn't look too good, or hey, that puckering doesn't look right. Like, I mean, it's borderline Frankenstein, right? Like they just stapled her up. That's not what they did, but that's what it looks like because of the puckering. It's little things like that are very, very important, and they affect how you heal over time and what your end result is going to look like. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about how to learn to look at before and after pictures, because again, I don't think that people are looking at these things with a trained eye. Having a trained eye is something that takes time. And I'm going to relate this to a topic that is very near and dear to me. So as a breeder of standard poodles for service work, one of the things that you have to learn is structure, and how to see the structure, evaluate the structure, and also to be critical of the dog's structure for many, many reasons that I won't bore you with. But the physical structure of the dog is important. This is something that takes time to learn, and you have to actively seek out the knowledge. It helps to have a mentor who can train you. There are a lot of different things you can do. I don't want to get too deep into that. But the point is, your average Joe walking in off the street to get a standard poodle for service work is not going to be able to identify structure. So, as the breeder, it's your responsibility to say, okay, these are the two that we need to pair together because we want to emphasize these traits and we want to diminish these traits, right? There's a lot that goes into it if you're a quality breeder. The same is true of learning what to look for when it comes to plastic surgery before and after photos. You have to take the time and learn what looks good and what looks bad. If you were watching this video a few minutes ago and you didn't know what a dog ear was and had to Google it, that is a good indicator that, okay, you need to do some more research. You need to look at the ones that have gone wrong, the pictures that are not as good, so that when you do find pictures from a surgeon that are phenomenal, you can very easily identify it, and you're not focused in on one point. When your focus becomes completely myopic, that can be problematic. What do I mean? Well, many times people are just excited about getting the skin removed. So they look at before and after pictures and they're like, okay, here's a before picture where the person has lots of loose, flabby skin, looking bad. Here's a picture where their stomach is flat. This is a great surgeon, right? But they missed the disproportionate belly button. They missed that the scar line was too high. They missed that the doctor pulled the pubis up too high. So now they look like they have a forever camel toe and their pubic hair is coming out of the top of their underwear because they've pulled that skin up so high. Yeah, that's right. That's something you have to look at. There is so much more than just that flat stomach. And I'm just focusing on the stomach here because the majority of people are going to get skin removal around the stomach area. But it's true of any area of the body. You have to learn and take the time to recognize what looks good, what looks problematic, and avoid those problems. And I'm here to tell you, you get what you pay for. So did that woman that I was referring to earlier save a butt ton of money by going to Mexico and having a fleur-de-lis and a breast lift? Absolutely. Is she going to spend back that money getting revisions to fix those areas that I mentioned? Absolutely. And she's likely going to need a plastic surgeon who is much more expensive in order to fix those issues. Because that really expensive plastic surgeon wouldn't have made those problems to begin with. But for many of the lower end physicians that are just doing like Sonobello, where they're doing churn and burn, they're just like going through people, get them in, get them out, get them in, get them out, right? There's no emphasis on not creating a future problem because they're not the ones that have to fix it, right? If you go to a surgeon and they screw you up, are you going to go back to them to fix it? Okay, and just so you know, the answer to that question is no. Just for those of you who are unsure. So it's important to remember that plastic surgery is an art and you get what you pay for. And if something seems like it's too good to be true, or it seems a little odd, or you go to a place like Sonobello and they're like, yeah, we'll schedule you for this surgery, and then a month later, we're going to schedule you for this other surgery. And then you go to a consultation with a private practice, privately owned plastic surgeon, and he says, are you effing kidding me? No, you can't have 2 surgeries back to back like that. You need to be completely healed before we go in and do anything else. Are you crazy? You can't even have a dental procedure. We don't want to introduce any bacteria or problems into the body while you're healing from a surgery. It's like, I don't know when this shift happened in the American mindset of plastic surgery is not surgery. It's surgery. It's important. You can still from it. Like, when you are having skin removal, they are removing pounds and pounds of an organ of your body. Like the woman in the clip she was talking about, her mom was talking about numbness, talking about tightness, talking about, like, this is how people end up with PTSD, and then they can't go back to doctors ever because they have nightmares every night about being cut open. It's not fun. Why would you sign up for that? I don't care if I was having a surgery to have a pimple extracted because it took up residency in my face. If it requires surgery, you damn well better have an anesthesiologist on site. An anesthesiast. That's not even a word, Allie. You better have an anesthesiologist on site monitoring my vitals, making sure I'm fine, not a team of medical assistants standing around going, shut up, stop talking, we got to close you up, we can't leave you like this because you'll... I can't even begin to imagine what that woman went through. I can't imagine how scary that would be. And I don't want to. And I assure you that if I ever have skin removal surgery, I won't be going to Sonobello. I won't be going to any chain medical office. Let me give you a little bit of my experience. Every time I have gone to some kind of chain something, it's been a bad experience. I went to Aspen Dental, worst dental experience of my life. I thought it was just that office because someone convinced me, oh no, it's just that some of them aren't good. So I went to a different one when I moved. Awful experience. Absolutely gouged. Quoted ridiculous prices. Then went to a private dentist and they were like, I'm sorry, they wanted to charge you what? You don't need all of that. You don't need to do this in 5 sessions. You just need 2. And here's the price, which was a third of the price, by the way. Like, I used to go to Applebee's back in the day. And I had to quit going. This is like high school days. But I had to quit going because every single one we ever went to sucked. It was terrible. When you have a chain, it's like something about the quality just goes down. Which is odd because you would think with, management enforcing rules that are set by a corporation or a larger practice that owns all the others, right? You would think it would be better, but it's not. I guarantee you that a private practice plastic surgeon does not want you walking around looking like Frankenstein. They do not want you walking around with your boobs lopsided or a squiggle for your stomach or a belly button that looks like a gremlin's about to, attack you out of it, like it's a portal to another dimension, or giant dog ears on the end, or big lumpy scars. I guarantee you they don't want you walking around looking like that, because people are going to say, hey, where'd you have your surgery done? And you're going to say, yeah, Dr. So-and-so at such and such office. But see here, when you're in a chain environment, right? Just like this woman said in her videos, we're not even naming the doctor. The doctor is some nameless person who screwed this up, who showed up an hour and a half late. We're not naming the medical staff. We're not naming the doctor. We're naming Solo Bello. It's much easier to hide when it's not your name on the building. I hope that you learned something from this video. I hope that if you decide to have any kind of surgery, that you do your research, that you look at getting help, that you look at having others look at pictures with you if you are not 100% sure what you should be looking for. Join the numerous Facebook groups. There are so many support groups for every single type of plastic surgery. Look at the ones that went wrong. I know it's scary. I know it's not a fun time, but you need to be able to identify where things went wrong so that you can see it when you look at these before and after pictures, and you don't sign up to have surgery with a quack. Please, take care of yourself and each other. Okay. If you haven't already, subscribe. I'd love to have you along for the ride. Make sure you like this video if you learned something or if you just felt that it was entertaining. Make sure that you check out my positive only support group. Link is in the description box below. And as always, be kind, rewind.
My mom just had what I would consider to be major surgery, and come to find out they didn't even put her under. Now she has a giant infection. The real kicker is they told her weeks and weeks and weeks ago that they would give her a refund because she didn't want to go back for the other part of the surgery that she had scheduled. And they're holding her money hostage. I don't know if this is like worthy of a story time, but I feel like this place should be shut down because that sounds like medieval torture. It's a place called Sono Bello, and I guess it's got lots of locations. It's like, I guess it's like a national chain. I'm not sure. I might be lying about that. But is this normal? Because this story is like absolutely horrifying, and I don't know how it's legal.